Welcome to another weekly live stream of Ask Me Anything Mexico. Um, Today's subject, of course, apart from Ask Me Anything Mexico, because I don't limit myself to the subject, but I thought I would start. Basically. Um, I would start with a subject, and that way we could get a discussion going. Or if you want to take the discussion in a different, take a discussion uh, in a different way or in a different direction, uh, we'll actually uh, we'll actually take that discussion. Welcome, Mexico Adventure, Anna. How's it going? Stephanie Beckman. How's it going? Um, Also, just an update. Um, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and open up a merch store because the yeses have it. Um, um, and the yeses have it. Uh, so I'm going to go ahead and open up a merch store. Um, and uh, you're going to have to give me a little bit of time. For those of you that already live in Mexico, I did contact the place that I'm looking. Blaine, how's it going from La Paz? Actually, Blaine, you were the one that asked, I think, about the merch store. I'm going to open up a merch store. The only catch that I see, because I'm looking at merch stores, since the channel's based out of the U.S., they do ship internationally, and actually they show the prices on the YouTube channel in Mexican pesos, but when you go to buy it, it's in dollars. But they will ship internationally. The only thing is, and I'm not sure how it works here in Mexico. I'm still trying to look into it. But in Mexico, because it's imported, sometimes what will happen is on delivery, whoever it is that's going to deliver it will have you have to pay the import duties and taxes. So I don't really know how they do. How they do it here. So you may be responsible for VAT taxes and that type of thing. If you have a place, to send it in the United States, then that's great. And I haven't found a way to find a merch store that works in both countries or ships out of both countries, because what I'm going to be doing is a print on demand service. So basically, I don't carry any inventory. What happens is you order the shirt, you order the coffee mug. The next step that I'm going to have is, what do you want? What kind of merchandise do you want me to put on the merch store? Order the coffee mug. They print it. The way it works with, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. The way we did this is what they do is they charge, I don't know, $15.99 for a T-shirt, and I'm supposed to mark it up $10 or whatever, so then it costs $25.99 or whatever it might be, or I mark it up $1 or 50 cents or $100. So what I'm gonna do, because it is nonprofit, I'm not gonna mark it up. I'm gonna I have to mark it up something, so probably $1. So what I'm going to try to do is pass the savings on to you guys if you want to buy something. Instead of having to pay $35 for a T-shirt, you pay $25 or $19 or $20. I don't remember how much they were, but that's how I'm going to work that. I'll make the merchandise available. Just give me some time, because like I said, with everything else, I have a personal life. uh, and so it takes me a little jet lag. How's it going? And so that's where we're going to get that merch store going. Real quick, Mexico Adventure mentioned something about a person in Santa Clara, Asher King. He's focused on my wife, like him back in the USA soon. He owes child support. That's why he's staying here illegally. He offered his trucking trade for her. He's admitted that he's... Well, I don't know, Mexico Adventure. I'm just reading your comments. Let me see what I can do with contacts with immigration, but I don't think, unless you want to talk to INM, the best thing to do is if you know he's living here, if you know that this individual's living here, INM might be interested in picking a guy up. And I don't have very many INM contacts here in San Miguel, day in, day. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually talk about my last video about expats behaving badly in Mexico, stereotypes and myths. Ask Me Anything Mexico live stream, of course. The subject of my video last week, there's actually an update because something happened in Puerto Vallarta. And one of the things that really kills me is I understand there's a lot of things going on with in Mazatlan with the banda music also. But the problem is the stereotypes that we develop, and not only that, the stereotypes that have developed from the Mexican people due to this type of behavior. Actually, the situation in Mazatlan, if you watched my video, actually talks about how this couple, I mean, I didn't see them do anything wrong. Just to give a little bit of backstory, what happened is the banda started playing. There's been a lot of stuff going on in Mazatlan. To give us backstory. Actually, there's a lawsuit, from what I understand, in Mazatlan to regulate the noise because banda music has turned into an issue with some of the locals also, not just the hotel owners, not just the foreigners, but some of the locals are saying that they started to bring amplifiers, things like that. What the movement has been on the part of the locals is to regulate, and it's not just regulating banda music, it's regulating the noise. I don't know, but I guess there's a lot of loud motorcycles or ATVs, those razors or whatever you call them, that drive down the street and make a lot of noise. So what they're trying to do, and actually this is actually supported by the governor. What happened in Mazatlan, that couple, they decided they were going to play some music. The couple didn't like it. For whatever reason, it was too loud, whatever the deal was. What happened in that instance is a bunch of people that were around them, Mexican nationals, and I don't know if they were foreign tourists, but the people around them started giving them a hard time because they didn't like the music or they made some faces or whatever it might be. The couple got up and actually left very politely. If you look at even after people were making fun of them and telling them to go away or whatever it might be, I don't even know what was actually being said, but they were filmed, and then this TikTok video was taken out of context. That couple didn't actually start this whole mess. This mess has been going on for a long time, and what actually started the mess was one of the hotel owners decided that he was going to use foreign tourists as an excuse to say that foreign tourists were being scared away from Mazatlan. That individual also happens to come from one of the richest families here in Mexico. And he made some comments that banda music was a disaster. He put, in his hotel, he put up signs saying that they could not play. Several days later, of course, after all of these protests and people started playing banda music on purpose and started making a noise on purpose, he actually decided that he was going to renege on what he said about banda music being a disaster. And he even appeared on another video on social media saying that, no, I didn't say anything wrong. Banda music is welcome in Mazatlan. The reason why I want to bring this situation up first, to let you guys know, is I'm not giving an excuse to misbehave, but what I'm trying to say here is there was a stereotype created that foreigners complain. Okay? This stereotype is those foreigners, they come in here, they complain, they think they own everything, and the thing about it is he used this because when he was on social media saying that banda music was a disaster, is he was saying we're killing foreign tourism. Foreigners aren't going to come here. The foreigners are complaining of the noise. The foreigners, this is the disgrace to Mazatlan. And the problem is if you look at the statistics right now, Mazatlan is down from 35% or 30% foreign tourism down to 1%. Only 1% of the tourists that go to Mazatlan are foreigners. So, I mean, and here's the thing. This stereotype has been created because of foreigners complaining in other areas, because of the reputation that they've gained. And I can't control bad behavior. And I showed you also, I also showed you, yes, Blaine, it's an awesome video of a bad video. Yes, it was a bad video in a sense that it was taken out of context. Thank you, Blaine, for that comment. So I showed you also another example in San Miguel of somebody behaving badly, going viral, and that was what actually takes these stereotypes on the behalf of the Mexican people. The Mexican people see this and it's like all Americans are like that, or all Canadians are like that, or all foreigners are like that. And it's not necessarily true. There's us. I believe my community that I've built here is a great community, and you guys are not like that. I don't believe one person in my community is like that. Now, I have had comments like the ones I'm going to talk about before, but I usually delete them, or I'll usually hide the user and ban him from my channel because I don't put up with that. But I'm almost sure that after I ban them or I delete their comments, they don't come back. So either way, I don't tolerate that type of behavior, and I know one of the things that people are going to say, this type of behavior happens everywhere, and it does. I'm not going to, I go to the United States and I see the behavior all the time. The difference here is that we're in a foreign country. You're not in your home country. Freedom of speech and all of that stuff may apply, but we're not talking about freedom of speech or freedom of expression. We're talking about respect. Okay, Mexico's a free country, yes, but you also have to respect, and it's all about respect. And the thing that surprised me about this was not the behavior of the lady, or not the behavior, because they always say there's always a few bad apples that ruin the reputation for the rest of us. I can speak personally from my career in law enforcement. There's a few bad cops that make the rest of us look bad. There's a few bad cops that everybody all of a sudden says police are racist, or police are violent, or the police abuse their power. Yes, there's a few police officers that have, and there's a few agents that have been corrupt. That's not the issue. The issue is a stereotype that's created as a result of those few bad apples. And we can't stop the bad apples, but what we can do is, if we see that type of behavior, I've intervened many a times. And actually, I've even surprised some people because they think I'm just another Mexican behind. And I actually say, hey, wait a second. And they look at me like, well, how do you know English? And they even look at me like, how do you know English? And then I speak English very well. And I've even had comments after the confrontation. Where did you learn how to speak such good English? Well, I was born and raised in the United States. So we can do things about it. We can educate when we see these types of comments. What shocked me the most, though, what shocked me more than the incident, because I know people are going to behave badly. I know people are going to behave like that lady in San Miguel. I know people are going to complain about the noise. As a matter of fact, in Puerto Vallarta right now, there is a restaurant in the Centro. An American couple bought, I'm going to say, we always say American, Americano here in Mexico, but a couple from the United States bought a piece of property next to a restaurant. The restaurant plays loud music, of course, and they got tired of the loud music, so they went straight to Jalisco, and they filed a lawsuit against the restaurant. This is a restaurant that's been in Puerto Vallarta for over 30 years. And the lawsuit is to get rid of the restaurant because they're causing too much noise and bothering them. Okay, so these are the kinds of attitudes, and all. As a matter of fact, the Mexican people are signing a petition right now to keep the restaurant. The restaurant's owner's defense is, hey, this restaurant's been here for 30 years. They should have researched before they bought the property. They didn't want to be close to a restaurant next to them. Usually property in the Centro and San Miguel, probably I'm almost sure in the Centro and in Puerto Vallarta, because it's become so popular, is probably very expensive property. So these are probably well-off U.S. citizens. Even maybe they're trying to get rid of the competition and set up a business of their own. But either way around, that behavior is going to happen no matter where we go. But that creates a stereotype. Now the Mexicans are up in arms of what happened in Mazatlan, what happened in San Miguel. People are saying, gringo, go home. You guys are all entitled, and you have this entitled attitude. And those few bad apples are the ones that cause the problem for the rest of us. Now, here's the thing. What surprised me was not the actions and not the bad behavior. What surprised me more than anything else was the reaction on the expat Facebook groups. Oh no, they have a right to complain. Oh no, it's free speech. Oh no, when is Mexico going to understand that we financially uphold this place? If it wasn't for us, Mexico wouldn't exist. If it wasn't for us, this third world country that we come to and spend our dollars. And that's just not true. First of all, in Mazatlan, I already told you, only 1% of the tourists are foreign. The tourists don't hold up the economy. Actually, domestic tourism holds up the economy. And actually, in most tourist locations, 87% of the tourists that go to most tourist locations here in Mexico are domestic, not foreign. And yes, would the economy maybe suffer a little bit if all of us left? Yeah, it would, maybe a little bit. But Mexico's GDP is a lot larger. And someone said it best on the Expat Facebook group. And actually, one of the Expat Facebook groups, they were discussing the peso. And the value of the peso, how it's, the peso's going up and people are complaining that things are getting more expensive. And people are saying, oh, no, well, you just watch. When Americans quit spending money here, the peso's going to go back up. Looks like you silenced me after my comments about the stalker Asher King. Is that fair? Actually, Mexico Adventure, I'm not silencing you. Like I said, that is an issue that you need to take up with INM. I don't have contacts to fix that. Also, the other thing, too, is that this is a serious thing, and you need to report it to the authorities. I mean, there's nothing that I can do about it. Also, you did a good job at, honestly, you did a good job at letting everybody know. If anybody runs into this person, if you've seen this live and you hear about this Asher King, make sure you report it. Like I said, I'm not silencing you, Mexico Adventure. As a matter of fact, I even stopped my conversation to basically try to give you some advice on what to do. So what happened, and they were talking about the peso, and of course the peso is going to go back up, and we quit spending money, and people start going home, and then someone made a comment back and said, you know what? The Mexican economy is much more complex than a couple of people in Querétaro paying rent. And he actually, LOL. And that's true. But the stereotypes that we've created, this entitled attitude that we've created, is not right. Is not right at all. Because we created the stereotypes. And the person that came out on the video basically used the stereotypes against the Mexican people. Because you know what? He didn't want to say it's harming Mexican tourism because he didn't want to be the bad guy. He made foreigners the bad guys. The foreigners are the ones that are complaining. And then when you go to an expat Facebook group, And some of the Mexicans start saying, yeah, that's right. And then the foreigners start saying, yeah, but without us, your country wouldn't be nothing. What are you doing? You're perpetuating that stereotype. You're perpetuating what the Mexicans think of you by saying all of that stuff. It's just not true. Mexico doesn't need your dollars. Maybe 20 years ago they did, but Mexico is a developing economy in trade. Mexico has, their trade economy has ballooned out the roof. Mexico has become one of the major importers or exporters. People are saying that as far as exportations, Mexico is probably going to be the new China. Okay, and we're not talking about just exportations to the United States. We're talking about exportations to the rest of the world because of their physical location. Okay, so to try to say that we somehow hold up the economy, and I've heard all the arguments. People have told me that, oh, you know, the tourism brings in $1 billion. Well, you know what? The president said it best. $1 billion is a drop in the bucket when we have couple of trillion dollar budget. Actually, the United States threatened to take away drug funding, and it was a couple of $1 million. And the president of Mexico said, you know, that couple of $1 million that you're threatening to take away from us, we give more than that in foreign aid to other Latin American countries. So if you cut us off, we don't care. And that's the truth. That's the absolute truth. It's not fiction. And $1 million to you and me is a lot of money. But $1 million to a government that spends trillions, as a matter of fact, go to the United States. $1 million is nothing. $1 million contract in the defense contract in the United States is a small contract because they spend trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars. Maybe that's what's causing inflation, but I'm not going to get into those political discussions. But when you have trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars, $1 billion is nothing. $1 million is nothing. And so if you start saying that's $1 million, $1 trillion, $1 billion, $1 billion is nothing when it comes to overall GDP. So all of those arguments, if you want to, go look up the statistics. I mean, I'm not trying to be here and say, and actually Mexico's tourism is actually booming right now. It's actually booming. It's actually increased more in the past couple of years than the history of Mexico. But what people need to understand is it's not foreign tourism that, yes, foreign tourism has increased, but it's a domestic tourism that's holding up the tourism economy here in Mexico. And Wilfredo, yes, actually, let's go back to Nature Lover here. Let's go back to some comments. I think, I've said enough, and my video has said enough. And so it's time to ask me anything, of course. But let me bring up some comments here. Nature Lover, I hope the restaurant wins against the American home buyers. Yeah, I do too, because that's just not fair, especially when it's part of their culture and it's part of the history of Puerto Vallarta. Wilfredo, agreed, 100%. Nature Lover, I agree with you. Yes. And Wilfredo's making a great comment here. We're guests. We should behave accordingly. You are guests, and it's true. And we need to get rid of this attitude. And we can't get rid of it. I'm not going to sit here and say that somehow my video is going to get rid of it, but my video, if it gets rid of it with one person, it's one person less that's going to create that stereotype. If you share this video with one person that maybe, I don't know, you're off and you're talking and someone starts saying, if it wasn't for us, no, you know what, you're wrong. Did you know statistics say this and you know statistics say that? And I know you're not going to change people's minds, maybe in some cases, but maybe in other cases you might say, someone might stop and say, wow, I didn't know that. And I've even told people things sometimes when we talk about Mexico, when people ask me about living here and they start saying, oh, yeah, the U.S. and the U.S. this and that and blah. And I tell them, did you realize that in the U.S., this is a misconception because this and that, or this is a misconception. Did you only, or when they talk about tourism, oh yeah, Cancun's full of foreigners. And like I said in the video, if you go to a resort, an all-inclusive resort, I'm almost sure that 99% of the occupants, and 99% of the occupants are probably foreign. You go to the beach from there, it's probably foreign. You go down Quinta Avenida, which is in Playa del Carmen, probably you're going to see a lot of foreigners. So you're going to come to that conclusion. But Quinta Avenida is only part of Playa del Carmen. Yes, it does stretch most of Playa del Carmen, but certain areas are filled with tourists. Why? What would I say? Are filled with foreign tourists. And certain parts are full of Mexicans. So it all depends on where you're hanging out. And if you're at an all-inclusive resort, there's certain ones that maybe the Mexican population uses that you're not aware of, and you might see nothing but foreigners at your all-inclusive resort. And you might say, yeah, wow, everybody here is from another country. Nobody here is from Mexico. I don't see nobody from Mexico. But just because you don't see anybody from Mexico in the area you're hanging out in doesn't mean that you're the majority of tourists. As a matter of fact, most cruises, if you go on a cruise ship and you come to Mexico and you port in Cozumel, you take a tour. What tour do you take? You take a tour with a bunch of other people from your country. You take a tour to a place where everybody else is taking a tour, where the other cruise ships are taking a tour. So, of course, everybody on that remote island that they took you to is all foreigners. So you might think, wow, see, I'm the one that holds up this country, but it's not true. It's just not true. And the statistics speak for themselves. And, maybe I'm a couple of percent off, but the statistics, even if it was 10% of the economy, even if I was saying less than 5, it's actually 8 to 9% of the economy is tourism, up to 10% probably, because you give them a plus or minus 2 or 3 for a margin of error. But of that 10%, 87% are domestic. So that leaves less than 5% of Mexico's total GDP is from foreigners, either living here or tourists. So you're looking at less than 5% of the economy. And even though people might say, that's a lot of money. Yes, it's a lot of money to you and me, but it's nothing when you come to a government that's spending trillions of dollars. So let me see. I'm surprised they were able to file a lawsuit against a Mexican restaurant. Yes, Henry. And actually that lawsuit, normally you file the lawsuit in the state court, not a state court, in a municipal court, right? Because it's, next door. I'm going to file it in Puerto Vallarta. This couple went out of their way to file the lawsuit all the way to the state. They skipped the local level and went to the state. I don't know how the lawsuit probably... The thing about the Mexican legal system, there's a lot of things that are very, very unique to the Mexican legal system. This process will probably take years to settle, but we'll have to see what happens. And hopefully they, the other thing too is they're sitting on a prime piece of real estate. Why they don't just move, I have no idea. Maybe it's just for the sake of saying we want to say we did it. Or, like I said, it may be because they want to start a business there and they want to get rid of the competition. Heaven knows. But the way it looks, the optics is what we talk about when we see these. The optics is there's an American couple that's complaining about the noise and they filed a lawsuit. So therefore, there goes this American entitled attitude that we should do everything and we should bow to the Americans. And the thing that I have to tell you is the days of si, senor. Actually, I saw this in a video. He said the days of si, senor and the Mexican people bowing to Americans is coming to an end. And that's the truth. Hi, Ernie. Do you think there are any safety issues for Americans with the increase in anti-American sentiment? Kai, to be honest with you, the anti-American sentiment that's going on right now, if it continues, yes, we may have some problems, but I don't see it increasing. Like, for example, in San Miguel de Allende, it's kind of like the bad apples, like we talked about. It's the few that ruin it for the rest of us. Even though this is social media and probably got a million comments, we also got to think that a million comments comes from all over Mexico. First of all, I don't know how many comments these things got or how viral it got. I didn't even count. But even if it got a million comments, it's from all over Mexico. So in areas like San Miguel, our favorite restaurants and stuff like that, where we get treated like we treat them good and they treat us even better. So when that happens, most of those people are going to keep those sentiments and that's one of the ways you can help. Actually, Kai, I'm going to bring this up again. That's one of the ways that you can help by being good, by being polite, by making those relationships. Then you're going to change that attitude. And you know what? Not all Mexicans think that way. Okay, there's going to be anti-American sentiment, but not all Mexicans think that way. And then not only that, but there's a part of the Mexican population that doesn't even deal with foreigners that are off saying all of this stuff because of the stereotype. So that's another way you can help, is by being respectful. Trust me, we've been very respectful with everybody, whether we speak English or Spanish. Many people know that I'm an American because of my accent. Actually, my wife says I don't have an accent, but I do have an accent because there's distinct accents. It's like the United States. If you see somebody from the South, or you hear someone speak from Texas, or you hear someone speak from Boston, they'll say, oh, that guy got a Boston accent, or that guy is from the South. It's the same here in Mexico. My accent is kind of, along with sometimes my broken Spanish, but my accent kind of gives me away. Right away, people start speaking English to me sometimes. And then I even asked them, was it because I spoke Spanish bad? And they'll, no, it's just that we know that you're probably American and we want to practice our English. So when they see that type of behavior, they're going to be a little bit more apt to say, you know what, this is just one or two, three people. But what I do see, Kai, is probably an increase in anti-American sentiment in some tourist areas. Also, a lot of the people that make those comments don't deal with foreigners. They don't know how foreigners are. They've never had interaction with foreigners. All they hear is a viral video. So, hopefully people will start social media kind of blows up things. It blew up this thing, and even the comments are blown up. So I think it's blown out of proportion in a sense. But if these issues keep happening, we're going to have to see what happens. John Kent, thankfully, people venting on social media doesn't always result in physical action. Yes, that's true, John. And that's, I guess, my point. We're not seeing any kind of violent. As a matter of fact, the Mexican people, you know what they did in Mazatlan to protest? They just said, we're going to play louder music. You know what they did to protest in Puerto Vallarta? Everybody, let's all go to the bar and let's support the bar or the restaurant, not bar and restaurant, I guess it is. Let's go to the bar and restaurant and support the bar and restaurant by buying more food from them and helping them out and showing our support and protesting. And I hope they play the music louder so it bothers the people more. That's the way these people are protesting. You're not seeing what you see in other places where people are, throwing Molotov cocktails in these people's house, or people threatening them physically or anything else like that. That's the one nice thing about the Mexican culture. One of the things that I said is a lot of it's about respect. When you show respect, you get respect. As a matter of fact, the Mexican culture is all based on respect. if you disrespect somebody from their family or you disrespect them, they take it personal. When you show respect, they feel obligated to show you the same respect in return. Or sometimes I've even had cases where a Mexican person or national has been disrespectful, and I've even been respectful and said, "Oh, I'm sorry." Oh, they changed their tone right away. I maybe you misunderstood me. I'm just trying to get this here. I'm not trying to cut in line. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Oh no, I'm sorry. And actually, you start getting into a fight. No, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. And actually, you start getting more of in a fight of who's sorry, who's more sorry. So, luckily, I don't think that's going to for those of us who respect. What really kills me, like I said, is what really got me really riled up more than anything else is that what really got me riled up more than anything else was the attitude that it's us against them, the attitude that if it wasn't for us, you guys would be nothing. And you know what? Yes, the United States does one of the biggest exports from Mexico is to the United States. Most foreign countries are nearshoring here. What the nearshoring is where you move your. As a matter of fact, Mexico is known as being the new Detroit for manufacturing vehicles, and it's because of the free trade agreements free trade agreements that are being implemented, that have been the NAFTA that's been implemented. So yes, does the United States does Mexico rely on the United States? Yes. But the people that are consuming the goods that Mexico is exporting are in the United States. They're not in Mexico. So the next time you start saying, if it wasn't for us, if we didn't buy, and you know what? If it wasn't for Mexico, you might not have your Chevrolet, or you might have in the United States, you might have Jeep is here, Nissan is here. What's the other? Chevrolet has factories here. You might have so it's a reciprocity. It's a how would I say, a relationship that each depends on the other. The exports that the United States, because you know what, it comes down to consumption. Everybody in the United States love their nice cars, and they love their electronics, and they love their stuff. So as long as there's and then guess what? All these companies are coming here to make those electronics. All these companies are coming here to do all of that stuff. And guess what? You know what? It's the same as we always talk about the cartel problems. And that's the same thing. As long as there's going to be demand for drugs, no matter how many walls you build, no matter how many DEA agents you put on the street, or agents you put on the street, or border patrol agents, as long as there's demand, there's always, you know what? Cartels have been here since the 20s. It's the only difference is what they actually send to the United States. At one time, it was alcohol. And at one time, it was cocaine. Now it's fentanyl and other drugs. So you're not going to stop it as long as there's consumption. You're not going to stop it, and that's the same with the actual. That's the same with with the United States and exports and imports. And Mexicans are all about family and community. In the U.S., kids mostly leave after they are legally 18 to 21. In Mexico, most kids never leave, kind of. Yeah, actually, we're fair adult. You're very, very correct about that. Um, it's about family, respect, and all of that stuff. So really, you need to really understand the culture to understand. Um, a lot of times, when you're saying that kids don't leave at 18 or 21, uh, in a lot of Mexican families, because uh, one of the things that you have to remember is that people don't take out mortgages. So sometimes people will stay, or they'll stay with their family uh, until they get married, that kind of thing. So it's a whole different dynamic. My favorite kitchen where was in Mexico. There's the best dishes I've ever owned. Yeah, the food here is awesome. Excuse me for just one second. The food here is awesome, and I can't complain. And a restaurant that's been there for 30 years. Sorry, I'm a little bit out of it today, but didn't sleep very well last night. But yeah, I hope that this restaurant really does win their 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 lawsuit. But it's going to take a long time. It really is. Any other questions? Any other comments? I love Talavera dishes. They are beautiful. You know what? The Talavera here is very, very prominent here in San Miguel de Allende, and it is beautiful stuff. We have a lot of pieces of Talavera. Actually, Hidalgo, where I always like to give kind of like history, kind of like history, uh, history lessons in Hidalgo, which we call it, where the revolution started, is actually uh, where a lot of the Talavera comes from. What do you think about the recent shooting of the candidate Gisela Gaitan? Yes, I heard about that. Um, you know what? The current administration is saying that it's behind the people behind it is the cartel. Um, I don't know what is the dynamics with that particular. I do know that the candidate was running in the was he actually running as in the party of the Morena, which is the same party as the current president and possibly the new president. But there's been talk that I guess they didn't want that particular candidate. There's a lot of dynamics that probably went into that. I'm not too sure how that area is politically, Kai, but those types of assassinations don't happen that often. Oh, Ana, you love Talavera también, too. Every trip I bring back some. Yeah, we have a lot of. Actually, my mother-in-law always asks us to bring back pots. She likes to plant a lot of her stuff into Talavera type of top pots, and it's got a rich history in the Hidalgo area. Not Hidalgo, Mexico. Hidalgo, here, the Cuna de Independencia. So I'm coming up on an hour. Anybody else have anything else? I'm going to give it 5 or 10 minutes. I want to thank all of you for supporting me. One thing that I want to say again is, as far as, hold on, I think we have one more here. Oh, hola, Alfredo. I'll have to look at Talavera. Yes, it's kind of a painted pottery. Nature lover. It's very beautiful stuff. I want to thank all of you for your support. Also, the fact that you guys wanted to support me through merchandise. But what I am going to do, and I'm just honored that you want to wear my merchandise, per se. But I'm very glad that you all are buying my merchandise, but that's just because of your support. Like I said, I'm only going to mark it up $1 or $2, and I'm just going to sell it at almost cost, just so that you guys can do that. I'm not here to make any money off of this. Yes, John, is there a way to contact you through email or WhatsApp? Yes, I actually have a video with a link to my email address, but I'm going to go ahead and give it to you right now. But in case you don't, just look up the video about free consultations. It has my email address there. It's info. It's real easy. Info at retiredlifeinmexico.com. I'll repeat it again. Info at retiredlifeinmexico.com. So you can get a hold of me via email. Thanks, Grant, and Rick Brandt. Good to see you again. You should be here pretty soon. But I'm going to go ahead and sign off. And like I said, I'm very honored that you wanted to support me. But the best way to support me is just share my videos and let's get the word out, and let's just be the better person. Like I always say, we want to be the better person. And even when we get upset, sometimes it helps us when we're the better person and walk away. And like I said, also it's about education. It's about, and I'm not asking you to get into arguments with other expats or whatever, but, you know, throw those facts out there. Some people, you're not going to change their mind. Thank you for calling attention to this issue of respect and entitlement. Yes. Thank you, John, for supporting the channel. Thanks for sharing your time with us, even though you didn't sleep well. Ernie, take it. I hope you feel better soon. Thanks a lot, Kai. And you know what? I might be a little bit off today. Like I said, I'm just a little bit off because I didn't sleep very well last night. You know, I've got the old brain fog is what you call it. And so maybe some of my stuff didn't make sense. I really apologize. I promise that next time I'll be in better shape to answer questions. Thank you, Blaine. Thank you. Anna, I look forward to thank you. I look forward to talking to you guys. You know, the great thing about my lives that I really enjoy the most is you guys interacting with each other, you guys interacting with me. Yes, I spend about the first 20 minutes going on maybe someone might call it a rant, but trying to educate you guys, trying to bring up what's behind the video, trying to expound on what the video was about. And you know what? That's what I try to do. And then I like it because people come out and you guys talk to each other. You guys have great questions, all of that stuff. And And so, and oh, and you know what? My brain fog. Hidalgo's the independence, the Cuna de Independence, is when they actually took actually independence from Spain. It's not the revolution. You know what? I get so confused because here in Mexico you had the independence, right? And then you have the revolution, because the independence was when they claimed independence from Spain, when Mexico, and then you have the revolution. And I always get the two. And you know what? I have to apologize to my wife because I always get it wrong. And she corrects me every single. No, it's not the revolution. It's the independence. And I was just thinking about that right now. Anna, I saw your video in the week. Everyone needs to watch it to understand what happened in San Miguel Coffee Shop. Yes, I think it's very important to see. And you know what? I can understand someone saying, hey, you didn't give me coffee. And I've even raised my voice, all of those things. But to sit there and throw all of the stuff or punch all the stuff and said, I'm not going to take it, that just was not right. Rick, thanks from Rick and Susan Joyce. Well, thank you. And you guys have been, all of you guys have been great supporters of my channel. And thank you so much. Hold on with just looked up Talavera. I love it. So beautiful. Yeah, nature lover. It's beautiful stuff. We really like it. Also, it's very, very traditional here in central Mexico. I saw a lot of that beautiful style in Isla Mujeres. Yes, but one thing to note, nature lover, a lot of that stuff, you'll see it in Isla Mujeres, you'll see it in tourist areas, but it comes from here, from the central part of Mexico. That's fun fact. So, all right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and leave it at 57 minutes. Thank you, guys. Like I said, if I didn't make sense, I'm very sorry. I didn't get very good sleep last night. I don't know why. I was just tossing and turning all night long, and so I'm kind of out of it. And as far as trying to concentrate sometimes when I haven't slept well. But other than that, we'll see you next Sunday. I have another video coming out pretty soon about the peso. And y'all can probably guess what the conclusion is going to be. But I'm going to do another video about the peso because that seems to be the biggest concern right now amongst expats, because the exchange rate hit an all-time low. It hasn't been at 6.5 for at least 8 years. I think it actually went below 16.5. And I don't know what the exchange rate is today. I didn't check it, but that's the lowest it's been in 8 years. So we'll try to give some insight into that also. So thank you very much. I think I'm going to take a nap, actually, because of I feel that I didn't do as well of a job as I normally do, and I apologize. But thank you guys for tuning in, and thank you guys for... Yep, since 2015, yes. Actually, somebody said 12 years, but everything that I've read, it's been 8 years, to be honest with you. Exchange rate is 16.4 now. Yes, it's been around 16.5, 16.45, 16.4, whatever. It's been below 16.5. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it did hit almost 16.5 on my last video, but it hadn't gone under 16.5. And I think that's when everybody, yes, Anna, I need a siesta. I sure do. Thank you very much. But yeah, the exchange rate was above 16.5. It was hovering 16.9, 17, 17.5. But it has gone down. Matt Hansen, yes, 15 to 1 when you first came to Mexico in February 2015. Yeah, actually, when we came to San Miguel, I believe it was at 17 to 1, or 17.5 to 1. 12.5 in 2013, yes. Actually, but also the other things that we need to take into consideration. I do know that the peso has the value of the peso against the dollar. It's kind of funny because the value of the peso went up, but the exchange went down. So it's kind of hard to explain, but or understand. But yes, the exchange rate has gone up in the sense of going down. But one thing we also need to take into account is a lot of things such as inflation. For example, maybe the dollar was worth more with the inflation at that time. It's kind of weird because I talk about when I was in high school, making $100,000 a year is probably equivalent to making $200,000 or $300,000. People were buying BMWs and living a kind of a luxurious life on $100,000 a year. And now in the United States, $100,000 a year, both couples making $50,000 a year can barely make it sometimes in certain areas of the United States. So we also have to take all of that into consideration. Same with all currencies, sterling against the U.S. dollar. Yes, the United States is having some issues, and they have some issues with inflation. Some countries haven't been reaching the level of inflation. There's remittances that are coming into Mexico that's affecting this a lot. And not only remittances, but then you have all the exportations that are going on. Then you have, yes, Mexico is experiencing inflation, plus the minimum wage went up. Things are more expensive. Excuse me. Groceries are more expensive. We're probably spending our own personal budget. We're spending up to 1,000 pesos more on groceries every time we go, maybe even up to 2,000 pesos more. Everything is going up, but the rate of inflation in Mexico compared to the rate of inflation in the United States, comparatively, it's kind of a double-edged sword, so to speak. Yes, Matt, you are correct. The peso is strengthening against all currency, not just the U.S. dollar. It's 17.8 to the euro and 18.2 to the Swiss franc. Also, though, it's going up. And also 20.79 to the British pound. Another thing, Matt, that I will also mention for Canadians, it's even worse for Canadians. Also, not worse than the 20. I don't remember what the exchange rate for Canadians are, but Canadians that are living here, it is the exchange rate is even worse for them than it is for U.S. dollar. But yeah, one of the things that right now, believe it or not, you can get like I guess a money market account, not a money market account, CDs, and then money market accounts too. But right now, a CD is ringing in 11% interest. Who wouldn't want 11% interest? And you don't have to take a risk. It's a bond, or not a bond, but a CD. I mean, you just tie up the money for a certain amount of time, and they give you 10, 11%. I don't know what the current rate is. I know that Mexico did reduce its interest rates, but that didn't affect anything. So a lot of people are investing in Mexican pesos. So that brings up the value too. And that's due to the high interest that you can make. I think the United States, I think if I'm not mistaken, the best interest you can get in the United States is probably like 4%. And that's like I guess the Apple savings account gives 4%, and they brag how they give more than everybody else. So would you rather, I mean, I'm not talking about you and me, but as an investor, would you rather go and get 4% on your money on a secure investment, or would you rather go and get 11% or 10% or 9% or maybe even 8% on a money market account? So U.S. Bank, well, it's gone up to 5%. Okay. Yeah. A CD is 5%. You know what? Actually, I think you can get on like 6% on a CD. Though what I was talking about is a savings account. The 4% that I was talking about is actually on the Apple Card. Not the Apple Card, but I guess they have this new savings account thing. And I think on a regular savings account, you get like 3% or 2%. And on the Apple, you can get 4%. But even at 5 or 6%, you know, and that's secure. A CD secure, because you're going to get back what you put into it at least, right? Oh, actually, it was 4.5. Apple just reduced the rate from 4.5 to 4.4. You know what, John? I just thought it was 4%. I actually haven't done the Apple card or the Apple savings account at all, but I just know that when they advertised it, they were advertising how they give more. Yes, but they're online only, the 5%. Yeah. It's been decades since good interest on investments in the U.S. Money markets used to be around 8 to 16% and more, depending on the total investment in the 1980s. Yes, that's true, Nature Lover. And actually, a lot of people were making a killing in the stock market at that time, too. The returns on the stock market were really good. So you have some, I have some parked there before I pay taxes. Yeah. I haven't tried out and actually I was kind of thinking, because I switched all my Apple subscriptions to the Apple card because you get 3% back. Also, believe it or not, and I learned this from, who was it? The Merida, the guy in Merida, Expat, he's, Mexit Planners, or Mexit is the name of his YouTube channel. And he actually talks about the 3% or the 1%. He uses his Apple card for everything, no international fees. He gets his 1% or 2% back. They give you a fair exchange rate. So he uses it for everything. So I was thinking of putting my cash back. I switched my Apple stuff and over to all my Apple subscriptions to get 3% back. And I'm thinking of putting that little extra money in there and maybe starting one back, 4% or 5%, putting a couple of $100 in there, and not going to make a lot of difference. But it's a good idea, I guess you might say, especially if you get free cash back or whatever. But thank you very much. I've actually gone over my 1 hour. I always go over the 1 hour. And I thank you guys for supporting me. Like I said, this channel is all about support. I know some people, even a couple of people on the poll said, personally, I wouldn't buy anything. That's fine. My support comes from my community. This idea of starting a merch shop was your idea, and I'm just bringing it to you because you want it. And thank you very much for supporting me. And I also, a couple of people have sent me super thanks. Thank you very much for supporting me. I've spent a lot of my own money at doing this, but my goal is to truly help you guys out moving to Mexico. I also saw your short video about the super peso when the exchange rate would drop down 17 in July, and you mentioned how it's impacting the Mexican economy. Yes, it is. Very much so. So I'm going to try to kind of give an update on this. If you notice, Matt, in the last video, I did mention that the exchange rate was on a lot of different economic factors. And I did mention a BBVA report that it said it was going to be back up to in the 20s by the end of the year. And that just didn't happen. There was also reports that it was going to be down to 15 by the end of the year. And that just didn't happen. So we don't know what's going to happen. There's a lot of factors. And I think the biggest factor right now, and also somebody made it a good point, during a year of elections, a lot of times the exchange rate will go down. So we'll have to see what happens. And someone, oh yes, so is Schwab, whatever fees you pay when you use your card, you get it back. Yes, Henry, I just opened up a Schwab account. Any kind of ATM fees, they don't have international fees to use the debit card. And also they give you your ATM fees back. And I can confirm that. So if they, when you go to the ATM and it says, we're going to charge you 100 pesos to take the money out, you get that back. I also have Capital One, which does that. That doesn't have, they give me a refund on my ATM fees. But Charles Schwab will give you a refund on now you don't get cash back, but you'll get your refund on your ATM fees and no international fees. That's another thing. Yes, Schwab, great. And also another note that John brings this up that Schwab is a great ATM. The other thing is that Schwab keeps up with the exchange rate. What you have to worry about in ATMs, and I've always tell people, if they say, would you rather take $194 out or no, 100 and, I'm going to just make the math easy. If it's at 1601, would you like to take $150 out, or do you want to take 1,600 pesos out, right? You want to take 1,600 pesos out because you're going to get 1601 exchange rate, and they're actually giving you a 1501 exchange rate when they tell you to take less peso. They make their own exchange rate to make extra money, but you always ask for them to take it out in pesos, and usually Schwab is very comparable to the current exchange rate. So you'll be taking the money out at the exchange rate that it is, but you have to push that button and decline. And then they'll give you a little warning. Just be aware that if the exchange rate is even lower, you have to pay it. Don't worry about that. That's just for the banks. It's a psychological thing that the banks try to tell you to take it out in US dollars so that they can make an extra couple of dollars off of you. So you can have a global account at Schwab too and keep it in different currencies. I didn't know about their global account, Anna. I just know that I opened up the whole thing online, and it didn't take me very long. And I did have to take a couple. The investment account opens right away, but the checking account, it takes some time. I had to wait a couple of days for them to review my paperwork, and then I just funded it and I use it now. That's not my main bank, but I'm able to transfer money over to the Schwab card. I just figured I'd start using it to see how good it is, because I recommend it and everybody else recommends it and everybody says how great it is. And so I decided to do it myself. And I can actually vouch from personal experience that it's a great deal. If you want to do your banking, not take out money here. Because I do know my main bank, they charge international fees and they charge ATM fees. So to take out $100, it ends up costing you $120, $130. Believe it or not, because it's 174 pesos. That's almost $10, or a little bit more than $10. So, depending where you go, some of them say 34 pesos, and then some banks will charge you a percentage for any kind of credit card transaction. Which Mexican banks are offering 11% CDs? Most of the Mexican banks are around 7 and 9%. There is a investment group called Intervalo that's here in Mexico. That's where I had gotten the 11% figure from. It might have changed because just recently the interest rates in Mexico have gone down. So it might have changed from 11%, but Intervalo is kind of like a Charles Schwab. It's not a bank. It's kind of a bank, but not a bank. I don't know how to explain it. They have money market accounts. One of my friends has a money market account with them. BBVA, all the major banks have high yield interest rates. I think the last time I checked with BBVA, and that might have gone down a little bit, it was about 10% or 9%. Depending on how long, and then also CDs are the same like they are in the United States. It all depends how long you're going to leave the money in for. So, all righty, guys. Well, thank you very much. And like I always say, but this time I'm going to change it. Instead of stay safe and stay informed, I'm going to say stay safe and stay humble.